It's always a great joy to introduce a person that you admire by what they have accomplished, and your newest congressman fits that bill, Bob Turner. He obviously is a leading voice on this issue that we are speaking about today, and I'm joined today by a very diverse group of Jewish leaders from here in the United States and abroad. They share my concern that the United Nations could take action this week to legitimize the Palestinian gambit to establish statehood in violation of the spirit of the 1993 Oslo Accords. We are indignant that certain Middle Eastern leaders have discarded the principle of direct negotiations between the sovereign nation of Israel and Palestinian leadership. And we're equally indignant of the Obama administration and their Middle East policy of appeasement that has encouraged such an ominous act of bad faith. Simply put, we would not be here today at this very precipice of such a dangerous move if the Obama policy in the Middle East wasn't naive and arrogant, misguided, and dangerous. It must be said first that Israel is our oldest and strongest ally in the Middle East, a democratic ally in the Middle East. And it has been for more than 60 years. The Obama policy of moral equivalency, which gives equal standing to the grievances of Israelis and Palestinians, and including the orchestrators of terrorism, is a very dangerous insult. There is no middle ground between our allies and those who seek their destruction. America should not be ambivalent between the terrorist tactics of Hamas and the security tactics of the legitimate and free state of Israel. By proposing indirect talks rather than between Palestinian leaders and Israel, this administration encouraged the Palestinians to shun direct talks. Secondly, it was wrong for this administration to suggest the 1967 border should be the starting point for Israel-Palestinian negotiations. When you consider the suggestion of those borders was made on the eve of the Israel Prime Minister's visit, we see the American administration having a willingness to isolate a close ally and to do so in a manner that is both insulting and naive. Now, thirdly, by injecting the issue of the 1967 borders, in addition to a construction freeze in East Jerusalem and the Israeli settlements, the Obama administration put Israel in a position of weakness, taken away their flexibility to offer concessions as part of the negotiation process. Indeed, bolstered by the Obama administration's policies and the apologists at the UN, the Palestinians are exploiting instability in the Middle East, hoping to achieve their objective without concessions and direct negotiations with Israel. And the reason is simple. If they perceive that they can get what they want through the UN without making any concessions, why should they negotiate with Israel? While the administration is right to finally agree to fight the Arab resolution in the UN, it bears repeating, we wouldn't be here today if they had stuck to some basic principles concerning Palestinian statehood. First is that Palestinian leaders must publicly affirm Israel's right to exist and to exist as a Jewish nation, a Jewish state. must persuade all the factions, including Hamas, to renounce acts of terrorism and release kidnapped Israeli Gilad Shalit. And third, Palestinian statehood must be established only through direct negotiations between Palestinian leadership and the nation of Israel. Now, by not insisting on those principles, the Obama administration has appeased the Arab street at the expense of our national security interests. They've sowed instability that threatens the prospects of peace. Israel's security is critical to America's security. We must not forget that it was Israel that took out the nuclear capabilities of Iraq in 1981 and Syria in 2007. In both instances, their actions made this free world safer. Today, the greatest threat to the security of Israel, and by extension, a threat to America, is the Iranian government and their development of a nuclear arsenal. One thing is clear: we must stop Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Economic sanctions must be tightened and increased. All options must remain on the table to stop a brutally repressive regime from acquiring a nuclear capability. To date, we have fumbled our greatest opportunity for regime change. Average Iranian citizens were marching on Tehran in the Green Revolution in 2009. America was wasting precious time on a naive policy of outreach to both the Iranian and the Syrian governments. Who knows what leadership of Iran would look like today if America had done everything within our power to provide both the diplomatic and the moral support to encourage the growing movement of dissidents that sought freedom. Our actions in recent years have destabilized the Middle East. We have been complacent in encouraging revolt against hostile governments in Iran and Syria. And we have been slow to recognize the risk posed by the new regime in Egypt and the increasingly strained relationship between Israel and Turkey. It is vitally important for America to preserve those alliances with moderate Muslim regimes, and Muslim leaders must seek peace and stability in their region. But today, neither adversaries nor allies know where America stands. Our muddle of a foreign policy has created greater uncertainty in the midst of this Arab Spring, and our policy of isolating and undermining Israel has only encouraged our adversaries in their aggressiveness. And with this end run of the Palestinian statehood imminent before the UN, America must act swiftly. First, every nation within the UN must know America stands with Israel. And that we stand with the Oslo principle of direct negotiations without equivocation. Second, America must make it clear of that declaration on Palestinian statehood, in violation of the spirit of the Oslo Accords, and that they could jeopardize our funding of UN operations. And Thirdly, the Palestinians must know that their gambit comes at a cost and certainly has consequences. In particular, that America will have to reconsider the $4 billion in assistance we have provided the Palestinians in the last 17 years. And lastly, we must close the PLO office in Washington if the UN wants. Israel is our friend. Israel is our ally. I've traveled there a number of times, met with the leaders. It's not a perfect nation, but its existence is critical to America's security in the world. It is time to change our policy of appeasement toward the Palestinians, to strengthen our ties with the nation of Israel. In the process, establish a robust American position in the Middle East, characterized by a new firmness and a new resolve. If America does not head off the aggression of forces hostile to Israel, we will only embolden them. That would be a tragic mistake. To further speak on this issue, it is my honor to introduce a powerful voice of support for America and Israel, the Deputy Speaker of the Knesset, Danny Daniel.